So we're going to take a couple simple containers and remove the ethanol from some gasoline. I know a lot of folks have been asking me about how to make that happen. A lot of different ways to do that. This is just the way I do it. Just a couple simple containers. Got a couple of these 5-gallon cans. You need a place for your waste. You need some. You pick this stuff up at Walmart. Some distilled water and some food coloring. You want to try to make it as dark as possible. That stuff there probably isn't dark enough, but we'll give it a shot and see what we got here. So first thing I want to say is don't be smoking and doing this. Don't be doing it around any drains. You know, some of us have drains and cracks and concrete and stuff like that. Any of this fuel or anything seeps out and gets down in any of those cracks and crevices. If you have any voids under there that fuel can get in, it's going to cause some serious issues if it ignites. You know, make sure your barbecue's off and all that stuff. Do it outside too. Don't do it in your house, for crying out loud. And if you got anything static going on, you know, just be aware of fire, okay? Because gasoline fire is hot and an alcohol fire is a lot hotter. Either way, it's just going to raise hell with your situation, and you don't want to go there. So we'll put this together real quick, and the reason I'm doing this, a lot of folks don't seem to think it's a big issue, but you know, it caused some serious problems with carburation systems and some of the older machines and generators and weed eaters, chainsaws, anything other than a fuel-injected vehicle for the most part is going to cause problems with carburation. And that ethanol, alcohol, whatever you want to call it, I mean, it's ethanol. It's bad business. And you're going to see in this and here that probably this is premium unleaded gasoline that I'm going to be refining here. It's way up in the 20%, way up in the 20% mark. It won't surprise me out of this 4 gallons if I don't get almost a gallon of ethanol out of it. I won't be surprised at all. Let's give it a shot, see what we got. Okay, so first thing we're going to do here and try to separate this ethanol. So we're going to start with 4 gallons of fuel here in this tank. Start with this. We're going to go ahead and mix probably the better part of a gallon of food colored deionized water in here. Get my camera in the right place. Just going to mix that right in there. Just like that. I'm going with blue. It's going to kind of be a green color before it's all over with here. So you can see already down at the bottom it's separating. See down there, separating out already. We'll take care of that here in a minute. I'm going to give it a shake. So I built this bracket out of just plain Ken line or strut material, whatever you guys want to call it, wherever you live. And this is just going to fit on a couple of bolts that I've set up here. It's just that simple. We're going to use this. Basically all this is a ball valve and a little extension just to kind of make it easier to get back in the can at the bottom. So we're going to put this on the top. Close this valve up. So, sorry about all the camera difficulties here, but we're going to go with something like that. So you got a 1/2 inch ball valve up there, and then Just a little extension is going to make it a little bit easier when it's up there. So we're going to give it a couple shakes here and set her up in a window. Show you a couple of the little things that we've done with this too. So in the bottom of this, you can see I put an air vent valve in there. I'll just put it up in here. Open that valve up, we build up some serious pressure there. So we're just gonna, you can see it separating already. Probably about a ½ inch line down in there. Interesting. Make sure this stuff's all tight. Give this a little squeeze here. Try to create a little bit of a vacuum. That's kind of crazy. So you can see here that we are just in this short time, we've already got this much ethanol separated here from here to here. You see the separation, kind of that little bit of a yellow color, kind of different for sure. It's really hard to see it, but you can see it. So that's your ethanol, 10, 12, 15%. I've seen this pretty high too. Probably up in the 20s, easy, as far as volume is concerned. So, anyway, so we're gonna let that sit for a while. Take my other 2 containers here, close them up so we don't get dust in them. Don't forget to wash your cans, right? So there's that. We'll let that sit and stew, and we'll come back to it here after a bit. So after sitting for a little bit, you can see we're way up here. We've got about an inch and 3/8 of ethanol in there. So I'm going to go ahead and try to separate this stuff out. What I'm going to do is take this cap off the bottom here without getting food coloring all over me, or try anyway. Gotta be a better way. There's always a better way, right? Always. I think that's it. That's a lot. I mean, that's like 3/4 of a gallon right there, probably. For the most part. I'm going to try to shake this little bit of water loose in this thing. In this little valve right here. Yep, that's out. Sometimes it's cheaper to buy the non-ethanol premium, but you know, in the same breath as that has ethanol in it too. I mean, you ask these truck drivers that haul fuel, it's the first thing they do when they pull up to the depot or refinery is, you know, they dump 500 gallons of ethanol in their tank, and when that doesn't all get drained out, it's still in there, and there's a percentage of it that's there. So anyway, there you have that. I'm gonna flip this over, measure it, see what our losses are. So we're just draining the top tank into the bottom tank here, just letting her rip. That's it. So we're down a little bit, for sure. Probably need to do some darker dye in the water, for sure. That would definitely help. Alright, well, there you go. Hopefully that helps. Definitely will clean up some stuff and keep your... you know, you guys, you go out there and you buy some of these ATVs, especially the older ones that aren't fuel injected. They're not made to run ethanol, and they can absolutely trash a fuel system and literally run like crap. Especially the older bikes that are, you know, 9-to-1 compression ratio and stuff, and carbureted. You get a little bit of crap in there. You know, just remember that your fuel tank on your motorcycle or your ATV or snow machine, it's not a fuel storage device. It's a container for that trip. So, you know, you don't want to leave that stored for any length of time. I know a lot of you are like, yeah, I've been doing that all along. That's fine, you keep on doing that. I can't tell you how many times I see on posts on the internet, hey, this thing won't start up, or it starts up, but, you know, give it gas and it dies. You know, they show a little video clip and it's idling, and they go to give it fuel and it's just croaking. And I guarantee you, take that carburetor apart, it's full of just gel gum. Looks like strawberry jello inside of that carburetor. And if you got a fuel pump or fuel filter, you'll see the same stuff in there. So anyway, this is what I'm doing. Don't be smoking or barbecue or anything while this is going on. And be safe with it. Be smart. And don't do it near any open drains. You know, I've got some drains. I got a drain over here and a couple others. You don't want any of this fuel getting down in those drains. That could be catastrophic for sure. Alrighty. Okay, well, you want to see what the deal is? Just under 4 quarts. Just under a gallon of ethanol coming out of that, leaving us just over, well, just almost 3 gallons. We lost a little bit there in the overflow that I had to toss in the fire pit, but that's a significant difference. So, best I can tell, if you take 4 gallons and pull a gallon out of it, you know, that's 33%. So I pulled 33% of crud out of that for sure. And, you know, we didn't end up with any more water. So we probably lost about a pint somewhere here that I tossed in the fire pit. It was just overflow that I didn't really want in the alcohol or the ethanol can or in the water. So, you know, that was just a waste product. And subsequently, I poured a log in that fire pit and it's evaporated, gone already. So, you know, probably about, I don't know, just barely 3 gallons of fuel here. Let's see what it says on there. 2.5, 2 3/4. So that's a lot. You know, I was chatting with a fella the other day about this. Anyway, I was chatting with a fellow the other day about this. He's a technician, and he was, no offense. I mean, I hope that everybody takes this as education. I learn stuff all the time. Every day I learn something new. But, after talking with a few truck drivers over the years about what happens, let me put it to you in this perspective. I make a lot of trips to the VA hospital, and wind is just smoking through here today. And I've got a Dodge with a 4.7 in it, and I get about 22 to 23 miles to the gallon on the highway pretty much all the time. And here a while back, I thought something was wrong with my truck. I was like, what in the heck is going on? I'm getting like 16 miles to the gallon. There's no wind. There's no adverse weather. My tire pressure is fine. Everything's the same. There might have been a little bit of difference in the barometric pressure, which could have affected it. We'll give it a solid 1 mile now to the gallon. But it's 16, 17 miles to the gallon. I'm like, what is going on? And, you can reset the fuel economy in that thing on the fly and kind of see what your consumption is. And that tank of gas, I didn't get 350 miles on that tank of gas, and I usually get about 425 or so. And I was like, what is going on? Well, this is what's going on. You fall back to a guy, we call him Drifter, but he's a tanker truck driver. He says, some of these guys, they pull up to those depots out there and they put that nozzle in there and start putting that ethanol in the fuel container, and they go in their cab and are messing around or BSing with the gal at the guard shack or whatever's going on, distracted. And they're supposed to put so much in there. Well, what's the difference between, say, 500 and 900 gallons in a 5,000 gallon tanker? It doesn't seem like a big difference, but it's a huge difference in a small can. So anyway, this fellow was kind of getting a little snappy with me about a few things there with, it's only 15%, 10 to 15% ethanol. Well, no, that's what it's supposed to be. That's what the goal is. It's the goal. That's what they're shooting for. But it could be different than that. And, the more alcohol you have in your fuel, the less mileage, your gas mileage you're going to get. It takes more alcohol to create the same amount of energy as it does gasoline. Yeah, it burns cleaner, burns hotter, all that stuff. And diesel is the same way. 16 to 1 on diesel. And what is it, 14, 12.8 to 14 on gasoline, and like 8 or 9 on alcohol, or like E85 to run. So, and what I mean by that is that's a number to 1. So if it's 10 to 1, that means it's 10 parts air to 1 part fuel. So a diesel 16 to 1 or whatever. Anyhow, if you're running too much ethanol, your power is going to be down. If you're running a carburetor, that thing's going to be pinging and knocking and rattling like no tomorrow. It changes some things because you're not jetted to run that. Even though it might be higher octane, it just takes more fuel. You have to have bigger jets to put more fuel into that engine to make it go. And so it really affects your economy. And in this, for example, we're up above 30% in this experiment with 4 gallons of fuel that subsequently cost me $22 for this fuel. A gallon of it here is basically going for fire starter for, burning brush piles or whatever. That's a lot. And, there's going to be a margin of error here. We probably got a little bit of gasoline in there with the ethanol and a little bit of ethanol in with the water and so on and so forth. We'll give that, even if you give that 5%, which would be way, way above what it really is, and throw away the 1% waste that we had, which was barely a cup over there, your numbers aren't right. You're still above, 24% ethanol here, just in this little experiment that we did. So, you have to be careful with this stuff. And like I said, even if you go to Chevron and buy their non-ethanol premium fuel that's $6.70 a gallon right now in July of 22. I'm finding a half to a 3/4 of an inch of ethanol in 5 gallons of that stuff, and which is probably close to half a gallon. And you know, like I said, that number, in my understanding, is coming from what they're doing with these, you know, in these plants. Now, who's monitoring stuff? Who's babysitting this stuff? I don't know. I mean, me, you know, you can call me a conspiracy theorist or whatever, but I've served 5 different decades. I love the food calorie. 5 different decades: the 80s, 90s, the 2000s, the 1000 teens, and now in the 20s with the federal government. And every day there was things outside the box that weren't supposed to be outside the box. So, you know, I have a hard time believing anything that's supposed to be happening there. So you can take it or leave it. Sorry this video is so long. I know I babble a little bit, but for those of you who are open-minded and want to kick this around a little bit, you know, do it. Do it. Get yourself a quart jar and measure it out with, you know, get the Pyrex measuring thing out, measure it out right to the detail, and check it out. See what's going on. It'll surprise you of what's really going on with the fuel. And don't even get me started with diesel. That's a whole nother rat race there. But there's definitely some issues that need to be taken into consideration when you're doing this stuff. And I even had a couple guys like, oh yeah, you're running E85, that's the way to go. Yeah, well, I have a flex fuel vehicle, and if I put E85 in my vehicle, I don't get 7 miles to the gallon. And it's still $3 a gallon for, you know, it doesn't make any sense economically. So I'm just trying to save a little bit of hate and discontent with some of you guys' carbureted rides out there. I know I do, like I said, I do a lot of 4-wheeler stuff and a lot of hunting and trailblazing or whatever you want to call it. I don't do any blaster stuff. I mean, I'm a slow motion guy. I've got an old Arctic Cat that's, you know, a 4-wheel drive, and I think downhill with a tailwind wide open, maybe 40 miles an hour on a smooth road. So I just don't want to be broke down someplace. And on top of that is, you've seen all the crud. That was, for the most part, a brand new can that I washed out, distilled water that you'd put in a baby bottle, and some food coloring. Nothing else. And all that stuff was clean. The food coloring was clean. The water was sealed up, and that can was washed out and cleaned right before I did this experiment. You could see the crap that was in there. You don't want that in your engine either. Who knows what it was? I hate to say it was oxidation. It looked like dirt to me. So wash your cans out. You know, I mean, I wash these things out and tip them upside down, seal them back up. It doesn't take much to do that. I know guys that have 2-stroke cans that they haven't washed out in 10 years, and they wonder why their saw is dying out there when they're trying to get work done, or their weed eater's taking a crap. I mean, my neighbor across the street, every year he's bringing pressure washer over. This thing isn't working. Yep, every year. Take it apart, clean the carb out, fires right up and runs good. And there's some stuff called Stay Belt 360, 104 octane booster, sea foam. I mean, there's all kinds of different things that you can add to fuel to help keep your system clean. For me, the best thing to do is put a filter in the system, a filter that's designed for the, if you get a gravity feed, you want a gravity feed filter. If you have a pressurized fuel system, you want to have the correct filter for that as well. And myself, I have a 4-micron spin-on filter with a sediment bowl below it, a water separator. It's up for an outboard motor. on my four-wheeler, and you can just see it. If there's crud in there, it's going to be right there in the bottom, especially water, and you can bleed it right off, and it's done. So anyway, like I said, sorry this video is so long. I'm sure some of you bopped and hopped through it, but you know, take a minute, spin through some of the other crazy videos. I'm not in a rut. I don't just do, you know, firearm stuff or reloading stuff or rototiller stuff or tractor stuff. I mean, I kind of got stuff all over the place. It's what my life is. I'm a disabled veteran, and you know, I'm kind of in a quasi-retired status right now, and I'm just trying to live my life 2 hours a day, and I find stuff to keep myself entertained and try to stay busy so I don't fall into a hole someplace. And I encourage you all to get out of the damn house, man. Put that video shit down. Get out the house. Go do some stuff. Go for a walk. Walk the dog. Whatever. You know, get involved in something. And, you know, most of my videos are kind of like that. I love hunting and the outdoors. Anywhere where the sidewalk ends, I want to be past that. So, there you have it. And, like, seriously, that, you know, past where the sidewalk ends, you know, we talked about actually opening up another YouTube channel and calling it that. You know, Dry Bronco, it's kind of an interesting name. Used to live on the east side of Washington State here, and for all those not from this area, you know, you can't see the Space Needle from every part of the state. Right now I'm on the west side, which is basically a rainforest. But on the east side, it's one of the most inhospitable deserts in the United States. There are places over there, there's less rainfall there than there is in Phoenix, Arizona. You know, like down in the like 2 inches of rain a year versus, you know, some places on this side we're up above 80 to 100. So anyway, give a thumbs up out there, thumbs down, whatever, nose pick, whatever you guys, whatever turns you on, the comments. I mean, I usually try to respond to most of the stuff on the comment stuff. A lot of guys ask me questions on different oddball things. Ask away. I'm usually pretty interactive with this stuff. And some of these videos, they got quite a few views. I'm pretty impressed with the amount of views that some of them have. And try to do some reviews on miscellaneous products and stuff sometimes. And man, if I like a product, I'm gonna endorse it and endorse it and endorse it and you know, pat it on the back. You know, and some of these manufacturers out here, they won't stand behind their stuff for nothing. And there's other ones that have an unconditional lifetime guarantee. If their product fails, dies, breaks, or whatever, you run it over with your outboard and twist it up in the prop, and it catches fire on the beach and the sea lion eats it, they're going to replace it for you. So, you know, I'll pat those guys on the back and shine their name up on you know, get the big bat light up and put their name up in the sky at night, man. So anyway, you guys enjoy, and we'll see you next time. Any suggestions about some of the stuff you want to see out here? You know, we try not to go out and chase squatch around. Some bad experiences there. But if the opportunity comes along, we'll definitely get involved with that. I want to put a couple of videos together on some past experiences there. If Bobby, buddy of mine from high school, he and I had a real weird encounter here a couple years ago, and he won't even go back to that place, and I'm really apprehensive too. So anyhow, you guys enjoy. Summertime's finally came here. It's warm. It was in the 95s yesterday, which is bizarre for this part of the world. And hopefully the fires stay under control, as we got some monster trees around here, and with the wind blowing and fires burning, it ain't cool. It's rather warm. All right, guys, take care.